There we go. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the most interactive wrestling show on the interweb. Welcome back to Wrestling with Omer. Had to have my weekly or annual, whatever you want to call it, mic issue. But I preempted it this time because I knew it was going to happen. It always happens at the beginning of this episode, this stream, this show. But that's become a running gag at this point, and I appreciate having all of you in the chat. Sound out in the chat. Be sure to hit that like button. Let me know what's going on. We got Jermaine in the chat. What's going on, Jermaine? Jermaine, I know you commented earlier in the week about the mustache. Yeah, mustache is gone. We'll bring it back eventually, but for now, the mustache is gone. Hope you're doing well. We got Devon Lewis. What's going on, my man? We got WWE Cody Era and you got the biggest Brian Stan accounts going out there. Shout out to Brian. Guys, we've got so much to get into. I've got some things I want to talk about for sure, including the AEW TV deal, the reported TV deal, and we're also going to just give my general thoughts on the state of wrestling right now, which I think is generally, from a business standpoint, very healthy. From a storyline standpoint, though, definitely could use some work. We'll talk about that. And I'm also here to talk about whatever the hell you guys want to talk about. This is a fan-driven show. So your chats, your likes, your comments, your subscribes, all of it is going to be welcome here. No. But you guys want to guarantee your question or statement is read out, answered, whatever on the air, be sure to leave a super chat. Those also help keep the lights on. And could help pay for another light that we probably need to get over there at one point. So I do need a light for over there. So help us get there, guys. But also remember to hit that like button. We've got so much to get into. I hope all is well with you as well, my friends. Didn't get a chance to connect out in London, but hopefully we will at some point very soon. Well, guys, AEW, as many of you knew or know, it was reported, according to Puck News, are going to get a pretty massive, sizable increase on their media rights. WrestleNomics currently has the estimate for their current media rights deal with Warner Brothers Discovery somewhere in the ballpark of $70 million, give or take. That is including Collision, that is including Dynamite, that includes Battle of the Belts, and all of the other entities that they have had on Warner properties over the last couple of years. But then you also got this, potential for AEW pay-per-views. You have the potential for further programming, documentaries, some of the other things we've seen WWE license out. There is the possibility for AEW to license out in this new age media rights. So, question was, how much is the media rights deal going to be worth? Well, again, $70 million was the estimate for the previous one, the one they've had over the past couple of years, and now we got $170 million as the ballpark reported number, according to Puck News. Fightful also said that number, or they've heard reports or sources that indicate that number is not inclusive of the pay-per-view aspect and the max aspect. So that could be anywhere to an additional $30 million on top of that. So from a business standpoint, we look at, trends and just how this matches up to other wrestling companies that are not WWE. This is unprecedented. This is an unprecedented move from a financial standpoint, an unprecedented move for a wrestling company. From a growth standpoint, you want to compare this to TNA back in the day in 2005, 2006, 2007 when they were at their zenith, at their height. Does not even come close. AEW has lapped TNA in terms of business, in terms of revenue, in terms of all of the critical factors that you want to take into it. There's going to be the one thing that people will say, well, the ratings. How do the ratings match up? How do the ratings match up on a consistent basis? And the reality is, TNA, even at their best, were not doing, insane ratings, right? And when you adjust it for the cord cutting we've seen over the past over decade, I mean, again, say what you want. At the end of the day, TNA was not a top 3 show, in the key demo in prime time during their night. That just was not the case. Dynamite usually week to week is. And that is a major factor in the decision for WBD to keep AEW. You also have the fact that Warner Brothers Discovery is about to lose their biggest live cash cow, their biggest live, entertainer, that being the NBA after this upcoming season. So what they want to do is they want to try to get as much live content, live sports-like content as possible. You have the NHL, you still have the MLB, so you've got the potential here for a lot of content to be produced by AEW strictly for Max and Warner Brothers Discovery, and Warner Brothers finds that very valuable because one of the few things that still gets ratings consistently on television, live viewership, or sports-themed content, and professional wrestling fits right into that. Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown, NXT, AEW, Dynamite. Collision, if they move nights, I think could be in that conversation as well. So, again, a lot of stuff still needs to be determined. I would assume we're going to hear some sort of announcement over the next, I would say a couple of days. I think Grand Slam in New York is when you kind of announce this. And, the question is, how does AEW announce this, right? Because on TV, it's a little weird to be like, oh, we got like all this money coming our way, $200 million. But I don't think you announce outright the media rights deal as the big thing. But one of the things, you do want to announce is like, okay, starting in January 2025, here's where you can watch us. And that is worthwhile, plugging to your audience. And I think that is worthwhile or worth an announcement. And, if the announcement is starting in January 2025, all AEW pay-per-views are going to be on Max, that is a major announcement. If, you're going to say starting in January 2025, all previous pay-per-views are going to be on Max, that is an announcement, a major one. If you're going to say starting in January 2025, AEW Collision is moving to Thursdays, that would be a major announcement. And it's something worthwhile. So we'll see what happens there. You can see a good friend of the show, Jermaine, says, oh, good, just for Dynamite and Collision, and I heard Rampage has done $175 million for 2 shows. For 3 years is phenomenal. Yep, it is a 3-year deal with a 1-year option, according to Puck News, and what they're hearing. Yeah, so I would assume that that is inclusive of those 2 shows, perhaps those. I think what's happening here is Rampage, one of these shows is going to be 3 hours. I'm going to be very honest with you. Either Dynamite or Collision is going to be a 3-hour show. They have been testing this out. They have been, trying it out for both shows. Collision's been getting a lot of it because of the extra hour Rampage. I think that extra hour Rampage is essentially just going to go and fuse into either Dynamite or Collision. What that says about the state of AEW TV moving forward, we'll see. I pray to God it's not Dynamite, because Dynamite is my favorite weekly wrestling show, and I don't want that to change. And I think 3 hours would definitely make that show. One of the best things about watching a wrestling show, right? I'm just gonna start here. One of the best things about watching a wrestling show is, when it's at the end and it's over, you kind of want more, It's that feeling of, that desiring more, seeing what's next. That, for both a booker and as a fan, is what you want people to leave your show with. When you have a 3-hour show, as we found out with Monday Night Raw over the past decade, it becomes challenging. It becomes very challenging to get that feeling, because much of the show drags. Not everything is important, and Dynamite's a show where it's like bang, 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 let's go. They're trying to. It's a car crash sometimes in the best possible way, So we'll see. But I do think I could very well see Collision moving nights. I hope that's what they do end up doing. Thursday nights is wide open for professional wrestling. Like, I know Sorry, TNA fans, but when we're talking about like the big two companies, Thursday nights are wide open, and Collision would do much better on Thursday nights, potentially live, and I think they probably would do Collision live on Thursdays, and that could help with the television aspect of it, making it a more meaningful show and all that kind of stuff. They've already had a few times, like I know before their big pay-per-views, they usually tape Collision either on the Wednesday or Thursday before. So there's potential there to move that. I just think Saturday nights are not prime, or Saturday nights prime time are just not a good night for wrestling. So we'll see what happens there. There is, of course, also the discussion about AEW Shockwave, which seems to be either some sort of show. It is a show. Either pay-per-view or TV show. I'm leaning towards TV show given some of the conversations we've heard about it, but it is a show that AEW seems to be shopping around to broadcast networks. Reports that Fox and AEW have made contact. We'll see what happens there, but the more I think about it, the more I'm like, man, if they end up on Fox in prime time, that is a game changer. Like that's when things really get interesting, because I'm like, okay, what's really your A show? Because you can't. I mean, and again, I don't know if it would be prime time. Like, what are you gonna do? Like, if what is it, like Tuesday nights prime time? You get an hour. I mean, at that point, make that your A show, because that's reaching more people. That is reaching way more people. So I don't know. We'll see. We got Wall Street Money saying they announced it, and Shane McMahon comes out. I think they're holding Shane until like a big pay-per-view. I hunch, totally vibes here, but I do see that. Jermaine says, how do you think Shockwave would do on Fridays on Fox from 7 to 8? I think Shane makes the announcement. Yeah, let me actually just answer the first or the last aspect first, because it's a Shane thing. So the Shane thing, I don't know why. Okay, look, I never base my predictions about this stuff like off of anything unless like there's like explicit news, in which case I share it. My vibe is that Shane shows up at World's End. I think it's World's End. Either I was gonna say Grand Slam, but I was like, it just does not feel like. It just does not feel like that's what they're going to do. And I just don't think you're going to pop a rating that way. I think he shows up at World's End, and that is how AEW kind of ends the year. Tune in next week when this new media rights deal kicks in, when the season premiere, whatever we want to say, for AEW Dynamite. That's what you do, I think. I think that's what you do. And I also think from a business standpoint, it would be very like fitting. You know, or from a storyline standpoint, it would be very fitting. The year ends, World's End, Tony Khan's world just ended. That could be a really interesting storytelling. How do you think Shockwave would do on Fridays from 7 to 8 on Fox? Better than Rampage would, but 7 p.m. is on Fridays is still not like. It's that West Coast time is what it is, like 4 p.m. on the West Coast. So I'm like, I'm thinking. I mean, you know what it is. It depends on what Shockwave would be. If Shockwave was presented as a Dynamite level show, then I think it could work. But if it's not, then, I think it's going to peter out, much like we saw with Rampage and things like that. And I think it's still going to have, like, much better numbers than Rampage, because 10 p.m. on a Friday night is just insane. Like, that was never going to work long term. Can't they split the extra hour between Dynamite? They could, in theory, but and honestly, like, I thought about that first, but I don't. So here's the thing. It's more valuable to them to have like that extra hour added to one or the other than 30 minutes added to both. This is the way it works out. It's just more valuable to them, them being the media partner. Is it official or just a report? No, these are based off of reports, but, Puck News, John Rand is not someone who plays around when he reports these things. So, but yes, it is a report. I would expect an announcement fairly soon, though. If not Grand Slam, AEW 5, because the 50th anniversary. You mean Dynamite? Yeah, Dynamite 5-year anniversary is coming up. Maybe. The thing is, and this has been a running problem with AEW, these big anniversary shows, whether it was Collision's 1-year anniversary, their 5-year anniversary for Double or Nothing, they just have not done a good job of building it up. They've not done a good job of building it up. They should have announced the 5-year anniversary show was going to be a big thing, before All In, quite frankly. That should have been itself at least an Excalibur pull aside and saying building it up. This is you should have done a whole campaign around it. Jerry Lynn's gonna be there, Raven's gonna be there's a reason why announcing the legends for WWE. There's a reason why they do that, and I kind of understand it now, having worked in social media and marketing. That in itself is a marketing tool. You can use these legends, use these ambassadors, whatever you want to call them, to help build up excitement and make the show feel bigger. And just announced today, Undertaker is gonna be at Raw 3000 or whatever, right? Those things kind of help build up a show and build up a mystique of a show and make it must see, right? Even when you don't have a match announced, right? It already feels okay, we already know it's going to be a big thing. And then you got Ricochet versus Will Ospreay, makes it feel bigger. I think that's one thing that AEW really needs to work on. And I'm not saying that it will be like WWE. I'm just saying do some basic fucking marketing. shout out to their marketing team. They did. I did get a commercial for Grand Slam, and it was a pretty decent one. But I think more campaign type stuff like that around Dynamite 5 and things like that. That could have helped build momentum for these shows, but unfortunately that didn't happen. Could have done the same thing for Arthur Ashe Grand Slam. There's a reason why they only sold 5,000 tickets in an arena 3 years ago that they sold 20,000 in. That is a real thing that we need to grapple with. That is not good, especially in a market like New York. That is not good. Frank says Shockwave Thursday from 8 to 9. Maybe. But then what do you do with Collision? You got 2 hours of Collision. You got to move it off Saturdays. All right, you got to move it off Saturday. It's very weird because since Triple H took over, Raw and SmackDown ratings have been going up and down. Yeah, I mean the ratings overall for cable are just what they are, and for television, quite frankly, are what they are. They're just not good. Warner Brothers Discovery, I remember reading their quarterly insights, and it's year over year they're down 14% on viewership, and or I think it was actually 12 or 13%, not 14. I think AEW is down 14 or 15%. Anyway, but television, the market is shrinking and shrinking every year. That's just gonna happen. I think the better question to ask is where do they rank in the key demos? Where's their TV ranking at? And I think WWE's TV ranking is far more than healthy. SmackDown was the highest rated wrestling show by a mile. It was the highest rated show in the key demo on Friday nights by a mile, and it was a very successful show under Triple H. So it just depends. My favorite Rampage moment is when Christian Cage beat Kenny Omega in the first episode. Yeah, that was a great moment. And then they followed it up. That's the thing. They tried to tell us that Rampage was a very important show, and it worked until they stopped making it important. Because you had Omega versus Cage in the first match of the first Rampage. Great match. Led up to their AEW World Championship match at All Out, a couple of weeks later. You had Britt Baker in her hometown main eventing that show. And you also had the next week the return of CM Punk. Those are big. Those are pretty freaking big moments. Brandon J says Collision should move to Thursday. I think so too. I think I think that would go a long way to making Collision an important show. That's for damn sure. Guys, we got like 30 of y'all in the chat. Appreciate y'all. Be sure to hit that like button, smash that like button. It helps more people see the stream. But yeah, and one of the things, honestly, I'm most excited to see is how they present, Dynamite and Collision. I think. So here's the thing, right? I like to talk about ratings from a business standpoint, and for me, like from an analytical business standpoint, like those things are fun and cool to talk about. And I think it's cool to chop it up about ratings and all that kind of stuff. It's like, it is what it is. I do kind of hope that Rampage ends up being simulcast on Max, though, just so the ratings discourse will kind of end. And from my perspective, I'm just like, I would love to see what the ratings are, so I can like see a business side of it. I'm also just like, man, I just want people to stop talking about ratings and watch the damn show. Watch the damn show. like if you, because there are like a bunch of people who go out there and just like. And it happens with WWE as well, like probably more, like where people will just like criticize the show based off of ratings rather than what was actually on it. I'm just like, come on, man, just watch the show. Like there were a lot of Raws that I watched that I was like, yo, this show sucked, and it wasn't just because the rating was trash, it's because the booking was trash. Same thing with like Collision, same thing with like Dynamite. I'm like, yeah, no, this Dynamite was not good. So I hope that we can get to that. I think it's also gonna help that Netflix is going to host Monday Night Raw, so that ratings discourse is also going to die. So hopefully we get that. I also think, quite from a very selfish standpoint, for me, if Dynamite goes away, or Dynamite goes simulcast to Max, I'm cutting that cord. YouTube TV, cooked. Sling TV, nah, never going back. Whatever else we got, Spectrum, nah. Done. We're done. We cut the cord completely, baby. I can watch Monday Night Raw on Netflix, and I can watch AEW on Max. Bet. That's all I need, baby. That's all I need. Frank G says, put Collision on Thursday, Shockwave before SmackDown. Maybe. Maybe that's what they do. And maybe you could record Shockwave after Collision. Jermaine in the chat says, who do you think returns first, Kenny, Adam Cole? I've heard Kenny is closer than Adam. I would say Adam Cole, strictly because I do not know where we've heard reports that Kenny's like, training or whatever, and which is great. I don't know how close Kenny is to being like healthy, because that is not an injury, that is like a condition. So I'm just inclined to say Adam Cole. Like, it's been about a year, and he's been backstage, he's been active. So I would say Adam Cole is nearing a return. Reckless speculation. That is not. I don't know anything, guys. I just want to be clear, but it's just a guess from this old noggin. Dynamite keeps on Wednesdays. Collision moves to Thursdays, and Shockwave put it head to head with SmackDown. Might work because Saturday's not good. Head to head against SmackDown. That show would not do well. I'm just gonna be real. That show would not do well head to head on SmackDown. Maybe, I mean, even if you do that third hour of SmackDown, no, it's not gonna do well. I don't think. Tony Khan needs to hire someone to take over creative. I'd love to see Eric Bischoff. I would not love to see Eric Bischoff there. Shout out to Eric Bischoff. Did some wonderful work in 1996 through the first half of 1998 or first quarter of 1998. I outside of that, he's just not a good booker in my opinion. That's just my feeling. I do think he's accomplished quite a bit though, and he's got a lot of great insight. And he's got an interesting podcast. But I think Tony's fine as like the kind of like filter for creative. I do think he needs to delegate some of that stuff. Like he should not. I'm sorry. He should have like a say in what's going on in ROH and like like have like whatever like champions and all that kind of stuff power. He should not be the one booking ROH on a week-to-week basis. That should not be happening. He should also not, and obviously it's just not working. He's not like ROH is not its own even developmental show. ROH is just like whatever match they want to put on, those put it on for the sake of putting it on. They do need more attention paid to that show. I wish he would bring in someone to do ROH, but from what I know, Tony has like a very like it's a growing creative committee over there. You have obviously Jennifer Pepperman who came in. She's very close with Mercedes. She's also been writing stuff for other people as well. You have the likes of Will Washington and others who've come in, and Will has been like pretty instrumental in the Swerve Strickland Hangman Page stuff, which has been some of the best thing that AEW put out. So I think they're getting there. It's been part of the growing pains, right, for a company that is still like relatively new, like not relatively new. I'm going to say like 5 years in, but that kind of moved from a startup to a very successful brand very quickly. So I do think that there's growing pains that come with that. I think they're on track to figuring it out, from what I can tell. Be cool to cut the cord if Max, yo, please, and pay-per-views, please. I just want to consolidate my apps. I hate having so many apps on this damn thing. Never have the storage. Now I'm gonna go into my angry 20-something-year-old grandpa mode. Like, I never have enough storage. I never have enough. Like, I can't find the apps. I got like 5 pages I gotta swipe through. This is nuts. We got Filmy Ushu saying AEW needs to turn things around in the next 3 years of television, or else it's not gonna be a good TV deal. I mean, it depends on what you mean by turn things around. I think they've established themselves as like a pretty like a pretty strong television brand. That is just true. As far as what happens in the next 3 years, like that is TBD. We're gonna have to see. I think the biggest indicator is going to be like those pay-per-view buys, or actually no, we might not even know pay-per-view buys if they end up going to Max, but those like the viewership numbers are going to mean a lot, and we'll see what the appetite is, because at the end of the day, like, what is Raw going to be like, in 5 or 10 years, whenever their deal with Netflix, finally comes up? What are they going to be? How are we going to be able to tell? Like that's the biggest question with the streaming stuff. Like, how are we going to be able to tell what success looks like and what a healthy contract is compared to the last one if we don't know what the ratings are? And at the end of the day, the truth is, it's just dependent on how much money X company wants to pay for them, right? I think companies are going to be, but I do think a brand like AEW that is able to bring in hundreds of thousands of live viewers and maintain them, that is very valuable. 52 weeks out of the year, multiple days a week, that is very valuable to any, television network or any like media network at this point, if we want to talk about streaming. And I think in a couple of years, it's going to be even more valuable, to be honest, because the only thing that gets consistent ratings like that on a weekly basis, 52 weeks out of the year, is professional wrestling. Collision needs to go on a weekday. Yep. Tony is like, he's lose when it comes to shows every week. Tony seems like he is lose when it comes to, I think he's chilling. I think he's chilling. He's just like, I think Tony Khan is probably one of the happiest people this week over in professional wrestling, considering some of the news that's come out. And I hate Gatorade, but I need to drink something that wasn't water. So, all right. But yeah, I think AEW, though, is going to be fine. And look, like, if you like look at like just the past, you go back 5 years, like the original bar for success for AEW was not what it became. I think the original bar was somewhere in the ballpark of like 500,000 to like 600,000 viewers. And if they got that and that was their ceiling, that'd be great. That would have been a success for WBD. They outshined that and then some, and they realized like the market was bigger initially for AEW than it was. And then over the years, and I think probably the biggest thing that hurt them, or it was two big things, to be honest, like in retrospect. Number one, Vince McMahon leaving WWE and Triple H coming in and inserting some level of competency in booking. That really hurt AEW because there were a lot of people who tuned in to AEW in the first couple of years because they felt like WWE was a shit show. It was a bad show. It was not an entertaining show. It didn't make sense. You're just seeing like same rematch after rematch after rematch. It became a meme, right? So AEW in that way was like, by virtue of just being logically like sound in storytelling, it was cool. And then you had, it was like the new, and it was also like the new kid on the block or whatever. You know, you had CM Punk coming in, you had Kenny Omega, like all the possibilities for matches that we wanted to see for years, dream matches, they were there, you know? It felt like the biggest super indie of all time, and it surpassed that at a certain point. But eventually WWE got better, and they took it up a notch, you know, and the vibe is the vibe was very good. But unfortunately, for AEW, like that led to some people tuning out of AEW, and it coincided. Like, I want to be clear about this. I am not saying that, you know, oh my god, this is the main reason, but I do think a turning point and a clear turning point for not only the perception for AEW among the fans, but also like the company as a whole, and like kind of like the after years of like, oh, being on the rise, and like really like being fired to kind of taking it down a notch, was like the great bomb was CM Punk's, you know, crash out at All Out 2022. And it's not because of Punk and what he said or anything, but it is the after effect of that, because you had, quite frank, a shit show the night afterwards and then the days afterwards, in that your champion is out, there's all these stories leaking, your belts are vacated, 4 of your biggest stars gone from TV. Without any like storyline, without anything, gone from TV. The Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, and CM Punk gone. And what that did was, it took 4 of your biggest stars off the road, off the television show. And meanwhile, you had all of these people online talking about this, and there's like a very toxic discourse about this, and it turned people off. It turned me off. It turned me off. And I went to shows afterwards. I was just like, man, like, yeah, like every time I had to talk about Brawl Out or whatever, it was just like, fuck, I just don't want to do this anymore. And I think like that weighed on people, and that like kind of turned off fans, to be honest. And like this coincided with like Kenny Omega, who was like the guy on AEW TV when its most successful time. He was the guy. It like, you know, led to Kenny Omega, who had just taken like 6 months off, basically taking a hiatus, and then he's off for like another 2-3 months, you know. And then like obviously Punk comes back, and then he's fired because of the fight with Jack Perry. Inconsistency in like your stars. You've had so many injuries. Like, I think that vibe of like, oh my god, AEW has the best roster on TV. It's true. If you look at the roster, it is an insanely stacked roster. The issue is they're not all healthy at the same time. They're not all on TV at the same time, and stories just leak. And I think that has definitely led to a what's it called? A hit in perception for AEW, unfortunately. But didn't hit them enough to not land them a TV deal, because they definitely got one. Wrestling companies are always hot and cold. That's the other thing. It ebbs and flows, man. Like, that rise and that peak that AEW was on, it was going to come down eventually. It could have came down a lot worse. Like, it could have been a lot worse. And I think, like, they are putting on some of the most compelling and best wrestling television that they've ever done over the last couple of months. I think, for me, January, like, there's a show they did in Fairfax, Virginia, in June of this past June, excuse me, that I was like, okay, I think they kind of changed this entire formula for Dynamite back to what it was supposed to be, which is great wrestling, logical storytelling, threads throughout the entire show, and focus on your stars. Like, that's what made AEW, and that's what's going to continue to make Dynamite a successful show. TK should book only Dynamite, not by himself. The ex-TNA guy who tried to buy TNA could book Collision, and someone could book Shockwave. Shane, maybe? I would not. Shout out to Shane McMahon. I don't want that man booking any wrestling. I do not want that man booking any wrestling after what he did to the Royal Rumble in 2022. That was not good. Shout out to him. I think he's great as a personality. I think he's very, captivating as a personality and as a even an in-ring like character. I don't want to see him booking anything. I think Tony's fine booking Dynamite and Collision. I think there probably should be a more delegation though. I think that's just the general vibe. Tony should deal with future talent more than the talent that's coming from WWE. I think they're doing a better job of it recently. They've been doing a better job of incorporating them recently. In other words, they were just watching AEW until WWE got better. Yep. I think for a lot of people, that's what it was. That's what it was. I'm pretty sure Netflix looks at streaming hours to determine if a show or movie is successful. I think that's definitely one of the KPIs they look at. Key performance indicators. Sorry. I think that's definitely one of the KPIs they look at. I also believe that, at the end of the day, they being, Netflix and whatever streaming company, they're also going to be like, all right, how many people are actually sticking around for this, right? And that's like a way to look at it. It's also like just, looking at like subscriber numbers and how much they're impacted by this deal. So we'll see. I think a lot of AEW momentum got hurt because of controversies and injuries. Yeah, I think that definitely had a lot. Like I said, I think it definitely played a part. And yeah, I like it's even like a vibe thing, right? It's like you could just from a vibe, you can tell like it was different. It was different because we had never, and it was like also like one of the big things about AEW was like the locker room was so healthy. The locker room was great. Everyone, ELE, everyone loved everybody. Shout out to Jackie Moon from Semi Pro. But that's when it came down to reality, and we heard about some of the things that were going on backstage, and it was unfortunate, very unfortunate. Does AEW produce the best pay-per-views in all of wrestling? Depends on what you mean by the best. If you're talking about like the most watched, no, that's WWE. But if you're asking me who I believe are putting on the best shows, I think it's AEW. I think, the pay-per-views, like Tony Khan's strongest, like his strongest thing as a booker is like his ability to just pull out banger pay-per-views out of nowhere. Like no one, I don't think there's like many people out there who could like watch an AEW pay-per-view and genuinely watch it and say, I had a horrible time like watching that. Now there have been some that haven't been great, but even like the worst AEW pay-per-views are just like B level shows that WWE would put on traditionally. But I do think like the standard for AEW pay-per-views are just higher. And that's why I also think like they're just putting on the best ones. I mean, Forbidden Door was an insane like show. That main event, like I went out of that show watching Swerve Strickland and Will Ospreay. I was like, that's the match of the year. That's the match of the year. But then of course, I went to Wembley, all in Wembley Stadium, life-changing event. I ain't gonna lie. Seeing Bryan Danielson win the world championship in front of like tens of thousands of people while singing Final Countdown. Changed my life. In that, I am biased, but in everything else, I'm gonna tell you how it is. I also, and like, look, I've been to like quite a few people get on me. I'm gonna be real with y'all. I've spent more money on going to WWE shows this year than I have AEW shows. So let that sink in. If you know the channel, you know how many AEW shows I've gone to, and but I've still spent more money on WWE shows. So just want to put that out there for everyone who's going to say, oh, you're AEW Mark. Whatever, I don't care. Jim Cornette and Eric Bischoff are both pissed at Tony Khan's All Elite Wrestling new lucrative deal with Warner Brothers Discovery, including Max, and the possibility of... I don't know if they're pissed off really, but I think It's the gimmick, right? That's the gimmick. It's all about clicks, man. Got to get those clicks in. Shane is where the draw. Excuse me. Shane is where we draw. Shane is where we draw the line. Triple H has missed the mark on every hot star, and let's even talk about Bruce and Vince. Give Shane a chance, because the same guy who made Shorty G made the Bloodline. I'm not. Yeah. Okay. Look, I'm not against it. I just don't think he should have full autonomy. Vaughn asks, what do you think about AEW right now? What do you think they need to do more of for more viewers to invest? I don't know if there's much more they can do. I do think, like, there is some, like, easy stuff they could do, which is, like, just the entire reason this company exists, right, is because of the Elite. Whether or not you're a fan of the Elite doesn't matter, but the entire reason this company exists is because of Cody, the Young Bucks, and Kenny Omega. So, lean into it. The Elite are partially doing this hostile takeover, which is, like, to me, is like the worst hostile takeover I've ever seen. I don't know what's going on. Young Bucks aren't on television half the time. Have them on TV. Have them doing something. That is something immediately glaring that I would fix, because they are the tag team champions, and your tag team division is suffering because they're either not there, or when they are there, they're not actually paying any attention to the tag team division. You're not building up the tag team division. And this is a company that, at its genesis, one of the strongest components of it was its tag team division that's centered around, guess who? The Elite. That is, like, the biggest thing for me. I'm like that right there would help engage the viewers you already have, and probably bring some people back who were, like, turned off because, like, well, it's like an Elite-less show. Like, let's be honest. Like, most of the time, the Elite are only featured with Hangman Page. So I'm just like, bring the Elite back on. Definitely focus. I want to see more focus on women's, like, promos and storytelling. I think there's more room for that, and they've proven that they're able to take it up a notch when it comes to that. But give me more. Give me storytelling. Give me promos. Give me reasons why these people are angry at each other. So I think, like, that is an important thing for me, and I would love to see that more. On top of that, I mean, look, this is just me being silly. It's just me being me. Where's the intros, baby? Where are the intros? We're going Big Bang Theory ends, and then we go right to Welcome to AEW Tournament Live, and then John Moxley's music plays. I get it. You want to get a strong lead in. You want a strong engagement. You're doing what I do at the beginning of my videos. Oh my, Miro done with AEW. I get it. But come on, man. Where's the vibe? Where's the pyro? They're cutting costs, I know. But the pyro would make a difference for me. AEW in Wembley 2 was great in London. The experience was so fun, especially with Big Pressure Remix and the Final Countdown. Yeah, that Big Pressure Remix was, I'm not going to lie, the entire time Swerve was doing the remix and his entrance coming, I was booing. Did not care. I was a shameless Bryan Danielson shill in that moment. Like, I was booing. Swerve could do no good while I was there at Wembley, but I watched it back. And that entrance, too, like, with, like, the drone shot of overhead of him and Nana and him walking out, that was so freaking cool, man. Swerve, like, a lot of people want to say, like, oh, my God, Swerve lost the belt or whatever. But, like, bro, bro, to quote Vince Russo, that moment, I think, did a lot more to make Swerve even bigger. Like, rarely do you ever see, like, a champion lose and be even bigger coming out of it. I think that that was one of those rare moments, for sure. Yeah, AEW could do like Jackie Moon and wrestle a bear. Bryan Danielson wrestling a bear is something I do want to see. Bring it back. Shout out to everyone watching the JBL and Cole show in 2012 or whatever. Bring it back. Have Bryan wrestle a bear and give me that moment. I feel like AEW needs to spend more money on marketing. Yes, yeah. Oh, okay. That's a good point. That is something I've like lambasted them over. I do think AEW needs to do marketing, a lot more like local marketing, especially. I've said about like how like, they used to have like a lot of stuff up in New York City for Grand Slam leading up to it. I've seen they used to do that for Baltimore too. Like they in DC. Like I lived in DC when AEW had their first show. Went to their first show, and it was a really really fun show. And you knew it was happening. Like there's a reason why they sold as many tickets for their first show as they did, because you were in DC, you were in Baltimore, you knew that thing was happening. And when they came to Baltimore for Full Gear, you knew that thing was happening. And they had a lot of prioritization. They prioritize, I should say, marketing a lot more then. I think now it's a lot more online, which works, and I'm a big proponent of, but I'm also like, you have to have that IRL, like, that billboard, that digital board, or whatever, like, you need that. You need that in order to let people know that are local that you're going to be in town. Mr. Majestic says 100% agree that Jim Cornette and Eric Bischoff will totally bury Tony Khan's new deal. We're better off having a WWE based podcast. Better off from. Like, this is no shot at them, because like Eric Bischoff has done podcast episodes that I really enjoy, and especially like the look backs and like hearing his perspective on various events or whatever throughout wrestling history. Like, that stuff is really cool to me. Some of the other stuff I'm just like, is what it is. Negativity sells. Like, that much is true, and that much like I kind of understand, and like, I'm a content creator. Sometimes you have to lean into that to an extent. I do my best. I will never tell you something I don't believe. Like that's just like my thing. It's hokey, whatever. Oh, that's not the best for business. I'm never gonna tell you something I don't believe or I don't think is true. But like, it's like, look at some of my thumbnails. There's a reason why they're like, they give you like a little bit of like they lean into like the more negativity or salaciousness, just because like that's how you get clicks. Once you watch one of my videos, I'm not gonna lean into a character. I'm just gonna say what I'm gonna say. But like there is a part of that is just true in the digital media world that you kind of have to do now. It's hard to get people's attention. You have to stand out. And to be honest, you want to be a very successful podcaster, it's much easier to get people to watch something when you're talking about hating on it than it is to get some people to watch something than when you're like being very positive. It's an unfortunate part, but it is a part, and I think like that's why you see that. So for them, I think financially it's probably better for their podcast or whatever to talk negatively. I think AEW momentum hurt because of Punk and the controversies. Yeah, I think so too. WWE fans are the majority watching AEW, but they have gradually stopped watching. AEW will establish their own audience over time. I think that's true. I also think like they'll get to a point where they'll build the brand. Like it is about building that brand, right, as a challenger brand in a space that's been dominated by WWE, monopolized essentially by WWE over the past like 20, 30 years. You used to only see AEW pay-per-view ads on YouTube, for example. I already bought the pay-per-view. Makes no sense. Yeah, I mean, sometimes that's just like... Sometimes it's just like you're in the algorithm and Facebook or Meta, whoever is just going to be like, woo, send it over. Or used to becoming premium. Yeah. AEW needs to fix these things. Merch. Oh, God, yeah. Don't. I thought we were just talking about TV things. I didn't think we were talking about like business things. There's a lot of things AEW could fix. Merch is one of them. Hopefully, the pro wrestling tee. Like, shout out to pro wrestling tees. I'm probably going to launch a story with y'all at one point, so I'm not going to bury y'all. But that needs to, like, they need to up that game. They need to up that game with pro wrestling tees. Bring back Old School Collision. Seal the deal. I don't know if you can stop people from talking, to be honest. A little more promos, more dream matches. Please, for God, play intros. Yep, more marketing, growing pains. Yep, I agree. Shout out to Pro Wrestling Tees, though. Real Take merch coming soon, maybe. Oh, man. Guys, If you haven't already done so, do me a favor, smash that like button. Really helps more people see the stream, helps the channel grow, and all that kind of fun stuff. By the way, I guess this is a good a time as any for me to plug channel membership. So, just launching channel memberships. You guys can go over to the channel and subscribe or join. Become a channel member today. That's what I'm going to say. That's what I have to say, I think. Become a channel member today. You get perks like emojis, guaranteed response to comments, things like that. But, yeah, so I don't know. That's just me trying to very shamelessly plug these types of things. But you guys want to do that, get highlighted in the chat, and, you know, all that kind of fun stuff that you get with channel memberships. It's all there. Go over to the channel and become a member today. And I think there's probably a way to do it. I think there's a way to do it somewhere in the chat. So if you can figure it out, if someone does join membership or join as a channel member, do that and teach me how to do it. YouTuber. I know how YouTube works, I promise. Anyway. Here we go. Exactly. They will only be able to compete when they have their own audience. TK has the resources to take the time needed, which TNA never had. I agree. And I think they will. I think there's definitely steps they need to take to build the brand, and it's going to take them, I think, working closer with a trusted partner like a WBD or a Fox or whatever to help do that. We got majority of wrestling fans are WWE fans. I think that's true, yeah. I would say that's true. BCG versus FTR on Collision. Von Williams says AEW needs an offseason, come back after every 5 months. That's just not their business model, man. I think that's good to do with like specific wrestlers, and I think they are doing that very well with specific wrestlers. And like you should cycle wrestlers in and off. There should be, you know, time off for wrestlers and vacation, all that kind of stuff. But their entire business model and the reason they're getting this massive contract right now is because they're on TV 52 weeks out of the year. People want that content, that consistent stream of content. You got to have it. It's just the reality of it. It's a crazy amount of, it's all of your views amount to 12 million. Point 2 isn't so far in your future. Congrats. Oh, yeah. Hopefully, man. Hopefully. I appreciate that. I'm doing my best. To try to get up on there. Shout out to y'all. Y'all make it possible. The majority of people that stopped watching were hate watchers that hated Vince McMahon, not a loyal, dedicated fan base that will stick by them during... Yeah, I think that's partially true. Like a lot of them did tune in for, you know, watching like stuff that wasn't WWE because WWE sucked, and that's just what it is. So, yeah, we'll see though. The reason why WWE is so successful is because they have established a brand that have been loyal fan base. Oh my God, I can't read this morning. The reason why WWE is successful is because they have established a brand and they have a loyal fan base that the world can end next week and their fans will still watch Raw. Yep, you ain't wrong. And you know what? In many ways, the world did end. Vince McMahon was accused of horrible, disgusting, and quite frankly, like, can't say that. I'm not going to say the word, but like, horrible things. Horrible things. He's a disgusting human being. They had him come out on Raw or SmackDown. Like Vince. He's just, they'll watch no matter what. You're right. And then like 2019 was a horrible year for WWE, and they got a massive rights increase that year. So I don't know what to tell you. Like television wise, that was not a good year for wrestling, and they got a massive increase, and then they got a massive increase again. Do you think All In Texas will be successful? Depends on what like you mean by successful. I think it'll sell a lot of pay-per-views. Like definitely sell, like they will build it up as a major show, so it'll sell a lot of pay-per-views, and I think they will have a good house there. I'm not sure what the number is going to be. I don't know if it's going to be a sellout or like, but I think they're going to have a good house. Like I think they understand the importance of making All In like your first stadium all in the United States is success. And by that point, I think there's going to be a little bit of momentum because you have Wembley back-to-back now. And before that, you have a couple of stadium shows. You have Wrestle Dynasty in January. You have Grand Slam, which is going to be in a stadium in Australia in February. So it's going to be some things there. You think AEW will ever recover in terms of attendance, or is it too late? Recover in what way? I mean, I think even at their peak, week to week, they were averaging right around like 5,000 to 6,000 for attendance. So it's not like they were averaging like 10,000 a week, even in like 2021. But recover, like I think they can get back to that for sure. And I think there are things that they could do that will lead to that. Part of it is marketing. Part of it is letting people know that the show's in town. I think there's a lot of people who just don't know until the last minute. And the other part, quite frankly, is just making the shows feel important and must see. And part of that, if we want to break it down a little bit more, is who's going to be on the show. One of the reasons why AEW was successful as like a TV show, like Dynamite specifically was successful as a TV show and as a live touring brand, was because you knew who was going to be on the show and you knew you had a chance to see some of the biggest stars. Week to week, I don't know who's going to be on Dynamite. I don't know who's going to be on Collision, probably until the day before. That is not telling people who are in the local market that I should go to the show. That is not encouraging them to buy a ticket, because if they don't know if Hangman Page, if that's your favorite wrestler, right? If Hangman Page is going to be on there, they don't know. Why would they buy a ticket? They might feel a little bit, maybe I'll see, maybe I won't, but like that's the guy I want to see. Or they'll feel that way with, Willow Nightingale, Mercedes Moné, or whatever, right? I think that's definitely a big part of what they need to fix. Like they just need to it needs to be certain like who's going to be on the show. I know for me, I'm just like, all right, what's going on in Dynamite this week? I'm just like, I don't know. And then like the day before, I'm like, oh wow, this is an amazing card. Let's go, baby. But I'm also like, they could have announced this before. So I think that will definitely help with attendance. Their ticket prices are very well. And look, I ain't gonna lie to you. I have a ticket for Bad Blood because shout out to Kenny Baum, friend of the show. Kenny Baum was like, we're going to Atlanta. I was like, oh, okay, bet. And he was like, we're not going to Atlanta. I'm like, oh, okay, bet. I guess I'm going to Atlanta then. So I have a non-refundable ticket to Atlanta that I got to take. Looking at the prices, ain't good, man. Like the cheapest WWE ticket, like in the lower bowl, which is where I like to sit, quite frankly, because I'm like, I'm not gonna sit. Not that I am above that. I have sat in the 200s, but I'm not going back. No, we're not going back to the 200s. I can't be doing that. But no, but the lowest price for a ticket in like the lower bowl is like $500. I'm just like, you can fuck right off with that. I'm gonna be watching that thing like outside the arena or whatever on like a little screen they got on my phone, whatever. I am not watching that thing. There's a very good chance I'm going to be in Atlanta for Bad Blood, and I'm not going to be at State Farm Arena for Bad Blood. It'd be like that. Should AEW go back to 4 to 6 pay-per-views only? I don't think they will. There's no shot they're going back now. I don't want to say there's going to be more, but hopefully, I think they could do 12 pay-per-views a year. I think it's just that's where the money is. Content is king. That's where the money is. I was at Dynamite where Darby beat Hangman, but we didn't know that was even on the show until about 3 days before the show. Exactly. You got to tell people. And it doesn't need to be like a month beforehand. Like, I think in certain cases for big shows like Grand Slam, those things should have been decided beforehand, but it doesn't need to be like months beforehand or anything. But like, even at the end of the last Dynamite, let people know that this big match is going to be announced for next week. You can't save it for online. You can't save it for Collision. You need to do it when most people are watching it. And fact of the matter is, most people are watching AEW Dynamite week to week. It's just the real take truth, baby. I don't know what to tell you. Guys, be sure to smash that like button. Become a channel member today. If you guys want to help build the community here, become a channel member. Those memberships are live, active. They should be, at least. I think they are. I'm like 99% sure they are. If they're not, I'm just talking right out of my ass. But I'm pretty sure they're live and active, so feel free to become a channel member and, yeah. Do that thing, I think. I think they're up. Are they up? Can someone actually check if they're up? I don't know. Maybe I have to post about it. Do I have to post about it? I think so. I think we're good. Yeah, but go see if you can become a channel member. Someone at least check. You don't have to. I would like it if you became one, but someone check if they're up, because I don't even. Whatever. We'll figure it out. We don't need to do all that maintenance. I'll figure that out on my own, guys. We got more chats coming in, guys. We're heading down the home stretch of this show, so get your chats in. Which is bound to make everything more complicated. I need to read this part first. The reason it's hard to be a true alternative is because the majority of the audience are WWE fans. They're having to cater to them, and those of us that don't watch WWE, which is bound to make everything more complicated. Yeah, I think they're able to hit a balance, right? If your show is good enough, you might not have like the majority of people watching, but you're gonna have enough to be a successful enterprise. And I think that's the goal with AEW, is to be that alternative. The reality is, especially with the TKO back, with everything that's happened with WWE over the last couple of years, AEW is not going to overtake WWE. That's just not going to happen. The resources and connections that Endeavor, that UFC, that TKO as a whole brings to the table are just insane. And combine that with the head start that WWE has over AEW, it's just like it's not going to happen anytime soon unless there's like a drastic shift. Like there would have to be a drastic shift in the relationship and the power dynamic there. I don't see that happening. I just do not see that happening. Wall Street Money says there's a lot of good and respectful fans from both WWE and AEW, but Twitter is Twitter is just full of rage baiters, and it's a cesspool, which is why I love it. No, I don't. I don't even. I don't even tweet like that. Really, I'm subbing. You seem non-biased, which is hard to find on YouTube. Appreciate you, Ryan. Appreciate you. I do my best. And look, if I'm gonna be biased, I'm gonna tell you straight up, or you can pretty much see it. Like I'm not gonna lie about it. Like if anything to do with Bryan Danielson, that man could do no wrong. Well, okay, considering some of the things we've heard about professional wrestlers over the past couple of years, I shouldn't say that, but very little wrong he could do. He could rob a bank. I'd be like, look, Bryan, look, did he do it? We don't know. No, well, obviously not. Y'all know what I mean. Bryan Danielson is the greatest wrestler of all time. That's my bias right there, Ryan. You have a new sub in Me Too. Thank you for being non-biased. Appreciate that. I mean, people AEW dies. I mean, I don't want any company to die because like, here's the thing. At the end of the day, right? As much as I don't really care, like I'll be honest, I don't really care about companies in general. Like companies, I'm just like whatever. I break down business stuff. That's part of what I do and the way like my brain works, all that kind of stuff. But I'm not beholden to any company. Like, I don't think companies are like these like benevolent things that are good. But at the end of the day, the reality is under the systems of economics that we have, AEW goes out of business. A lot of people are going to lose their jobs. WWE goes out of business. A shit ton of people are going to lose their jobs. That is not good. That is not good for talent. That is not good for wrestling. That is not good for, the overall like industry. So you don't want wrestling companies to go out of business. You want more. I think more wrestling companies parody. Wrestling is like ice cream. It's like music, right? It's like find your flavor. Listen to the music that you want to. Like that's the best part about this like wave of wrestling over the past couple of years, right? You got a new sub in Me Too. Shout out to you, Jermaine. I appreciate you, even though you've been sub for months. Both companies have issues. AEW is just not compelling recently. Yeah, I think like the past year, honestly, has been like a weird one for AEW because it feels like they leaned a lot into the sports entertainment stuff, which didn't bother me. Like I quite frankly, I liked the summer of love and friendship between Adam Cole and MJF. I really dug it. I really thought it was cool. I think where it like started to go, like, not gonna say downhill, but like where it started to like fall off was when he got injured, when Cole got injured. I think that took the air out of it, and I was really excited about the Devil storyline, and then there was no follow up on that. So it has been up and down over the past couple of over the past year or so. It definitely has been. Oh, the Sphere. That's interesting. You have a new sub in me too. Appreciate it. I've already read that one. What else we got? When are we getting the vlogs? You're not getting the all-in vlog because that's just gone. I don't know what happened to that. It's just gone. I can't find the videos. They're all gone. I have the pictures, but ain't really a vlog if there's no video, right? Gonna be doing one for Bad Blood. I don't even know if I can do one for Bad Blood if I'm not gonna be at the damn show. Become a channel member today. Leave a super chat until I can go to the show. No, I'm just kidding. But no, we'll see. We'll see. I'll try to do something for Bad Blood. Definitely for Wrestle Dream. 100% guaranteed there will be a vlog for Wrestle Dream because I'm going to Wrestle Dream. It is happening. I will be there in Tacoma. So Wrestle Dream, Jermaine, you will finally, by God, finally get a vlog for me. And if you guys want to go see any of my previous vlogs, go in the archives and check that out. I got one for Forbidden Door. Got one for WrestleMania. I met Rikishi's son at WrestleMania, allegedly. Tune into that vlog to find out that story. That was a wild story. But yeah, we got that vlog up there. What else do I got? I got a Dynasty vlog. Went to AEW Dynasty, did a vlog there. So yeah, cool amount of Big Business. Went to Big Business with Kenny Baum and Just Brian. Shout out to them. AEW needs to put tickets to the whole arena for sale when they went to Greenville. Only 3,000 sold because that's what they had available. And they tarped off other sections. So, I mean, that's just kind of like what happens now. I mean, because here's the thing, right? With wrestling shows, like WWE has done this as well. You only open up as many as you want to sell, but you want to make sure that you sell like that side, right? The side opposite the hard camera. You want to make sure you sell that side as much as possible first because that's just, you want it to look good on TV. That's really it. That's why they open up that side first and then they slowly start to open up the other sides. But I think that's definitely a tactic that could work. I just don't know if it'll work consistently because you don't want people. The thing they want to avoid is like having people spread out through the entire arena and having empty pockets. You don't want that. So that's why they kind of open it up in like, buckets or brackets, whatever. Excited to have hardcore pro wrestling. I'm a simple man and we need more booty back on TV. Jesus Christ. Hopefully Big E does make a return though. That'd be cool. At WWE Cody, I was at Greenville. Yeah. I think was Kenny Baum at that show? Maybe he was. I don't know. Kenny Baum, if you're in the chat, if you're listening, if you can hear the sound of my voice, let me know if you were on that show. Oh man, oh man, oh man. Guys. All right. I think we are I'm gonna put a 5-minute timer on this, and then we're gonna go out. We're gonna end the show in like 5 minutes. So let's keep talking for another few minutes here. MJF and Adam Cole storyline was great. Actually, it got ruined because of Cole's injury. Yep, I agree. How come only 6,000 seats at Grand Slam? I mean, they just didn't. They just haven't made it feel important up until like now, and it just does not feel like a big show. That's the unfortunate part. Like I almost went. I almost went to Grand Slam, and like they had me for a second, but then I was like, can't do it, because it really comes down to this. Like the marketing hasn't been there. I think it's indicative of like the fact that like people aren't sure if this is going to be a big show, because it's like, why should I go to Grand Slam? And when you're asking that question and you're in New York, huge red flag. Huge red flag. Actually, yeah, last WrestleTix count. This was 2 days ago. Last WrestleTix count had it at 5,500. So 5,522 tickets. Their setup right now is just under 7,000. And the arena itself, as we know, holds like upwards of 20,000. So, and they sold like, and they had nearly 20,000 people there like 3 years ago. So, unfortunate. Missed the beginning was the WBD deal. Reportedly, according to Puck News, 3 years with a fourth-year option, $170 million per year, and that is for Collision and Dynamite. So there's the potential for pay-per-views to be added to that. That could even increase that deal. Be big. Imagine missing Brian. I mean, it's not even a money thing. It's just genuinely, I'm like, I want to enjoy this from my home. I've been doing a lot. That's really what it is. I've been doing a lot of traveling, and I'm just like, I'm tired of being on planes. I'm just really tired of being on planes, trains, and automobiles. I just want to be at my home, chilling, enjoying wrestling on a Wednesday night. It's also on a Wednesday night, so I'm just like, hard to get me to travel then, and then go back to work the next day. But I also, quite frankly, need to watch the entire Vince McMahon documentary and release a video for you good people reviewing it. So we will be doing that on the day of the release of the Vince McMahon documentary. Actually, next week's a massive show, or massive week, for the channel. We obviously got the daily updates that we do every single day. I'm coming out with a news video, giving you all the latest and greatest in professional wrestling news. We also got podcasts. Got this podcast, Wrestling with Omer. We also got OT Graps hosted here on Real Take Wrestling every Tuesday night. Trevor and I are probably going to be doing our draft for AEW this week, so shout out to that. Go tune into that. Wednesday is going to be a very busy day. Not only is it going to be Grand Slam Day, but it's also going to be the day that the Vince McMahon, docuseries on Netflix releases. It's supposed to be 6 episodes. I'm going to zoom through those in the morning, and I am going to bring you guys my thoughts. The preview is, I'm pretty sure that the Vince documentary is going to kind of, talk about, like, the rise of Vince McMahon, the fall, and, the theme is going to be the character got lost in the sauce, or the guy, Vince McMahon, got lost in the character, Mr. McMahon, or whatever, which is what it is. Like, these Netflix documentaries and docuseries tend to have a formula, where they paint the picture of, like, everything's great, and then Scandal 1, Scandal 2, and they slowly break it down. We'll see what happens. Special VCAM documentary, special guest. No, I don't think Janelle Grant's not going to be in it. It's been reported that her side were not contacted for, I think, an interview. So don't think they're going to be in it. WWE does it all the time. They put tickets to the whole arena for grabs. I mean, WWE is also a hot product right now. Quite frankly, in a way that AEW is not. That's the other thing. AEW is there's not a hot product. I'm going to the WrestleTix page right now. Dynamite in Pittsburgh, which is a really good town for AEW. I mean, this is selling better because it's a smaller arena, but they're right under 3,000 for the October 2nd show. That's the Dynamite 5th anniversary show. Actually, the show I'm going to, find WrestleDream. Where is it? I know they had it here earlier. WrestleTix. By the way, guys, go follow WrestleTix. That's a great follow. Yeah, WrestleTix earlier today just released and then the latest map for AEW WrestleDream in Tacoma, Washington. And yeah, that show right now has sold 5,128 tickets. And that arena could hold well above 10,000. Depending on how far back they want to push that stage. But, is what it is. We'll see. By the way, I need to get my tickets to WrestleDream. I do need to do that. I just remembered on this stream. Anyway, guys, this has been a fun time. I appreciate every single one of you who've tuned in. My dad said it ain't for him because he spent $100. looking at empty seats. It'd be like that. It'd be like that. That's why the secret is to go to an AEW show. Always buy seats on the hard cam side if they're available. That way you just see like a sea of people. Anyway, we'll see what happens, guys. I've appreciated y'all tuning in for this stream. This has been a very fun podcast, very fun conversation. I'm trying to get back in the groove of doing more of these one-on-ones because, I love talking to you guys. I love hearing about your thoughts on wrestling, and it just makes for a fun start to my Sunday. What's not fun is the fact that my Ravens are playing in Dallas. We are 0-2. It's not great. We got to do something here. We're blowing leads like there's no tomorrow, and may God have mercy on our souls. So, all that being said, go Ravens, go Birds. We're gonna do great. We're gonna flap our wings and fly. Caw. Until next time, though, I appreciate all of you guys. I was thinking going to 5-year show IDK if I'm driving 4 hours. Oh, I wouldn't for that. Do it for that show. I don't know. Ricochet versus Will Ospreay. Maybe. I don't know. But, yeah. I would say Grand Slam's probably worth more of your buck there. I think that's going to be more of a noteworthy show. It's not my style, but Ospreay's great at what he does. Arguably the best, but he needs to mix it up. He risks getting stale. I think Will Ospreay is kind of, in a weird way, he's like WWE-fied himself. He's fetified himself, like in that like he's got a moveset and he sticks to it. There's a lot that he can do. I think in a way he's kind of holding back. That Ricochet match is going to be that Ricochet match is going to be interesting. You guys spent all your money on OBJ. Hey, that was last year. We spent all of last year's money on OBJ. This year, we're going to probably give a whack-ass contract to, like, Rashad Bateman. I don't know. I just want to win. I'm a Panthers fan, so all I have is wrestling. I'm so sorry, Ryan. By the way, Ryan, this is a good time to plug. Good time as any to plug my other channel, youtube.com/Real Take Sports. That was actually the original Real Take channel. Latest videos are doing actually pretty well. Knock on wood, God willing. But I just came out with a video about the Panthers moving on from Bryce Young. So Real Take Sports, go check that out on YouTube as well. All the Real Takes. You got Real Take Sports. We got Real Take Wrestling. For youtube.com/Wrestle Vibes for all my docu-style content over there that has to do with wrestling. So if you're not like a person who enjoys like daily wrestling, like news and kind of stuff or whatever, that's fine. Go over there, change of pace, more docu-style, more narrative, more of that kind of stuff. Less of this beautiful face. But go check that out, guys. Be sure to leave a like, leave a thumbs up, leave a comment, all that wonderful stuff. Until next time, again, I've enjoyed spending my Sunday morning with you. Hope to do it again soon. Until next time, be happy, be healthy, and as always, keep it real.